Hi, I'm Ron Kolick, and I'm a teacher at the high school. Thank you for taking this mini course with me. I really hope it helps you prepare for the coming challenges we will all face this school year. As you watch the following video, please don't get confused. I recorded it previously as part of a webinar that I offered with Keisha's College. So at times you might see me say, do you have any questions and things of that nature? Just sort of ignore that. We will use the Schoology discussion prompts though for our discussion. So please post your comments, your questions, your concerns, and feel free to pause the video, take notes, go back and watch it later. So I really hope that it's a helpful resource for you. And thank you so much. Have a great day.
Right away, talking about how we can integrate Schoology with Google Apps and Google Drive and Google Docs, and how you can really make those all work seamlessly with Schoology without having students to really go in multiple places. So that's the major goal with this, right? Let's keep it streamlined so students only have to go to one spot at one time, okay? And please, anytime during this presentation, please speak up. I would be happy to go over something very slowly, very carefully. So this is a much slower pace, I'm hoping, than what we did the other day. And I'm really trying to show you exactly how to actually do these different aspects, okay? So please feel free to interrupt me anytime you want. All right. Now, one of the things I want to talk about first is, I'm not sure everybody knows this, some people might know, some they might not, is that you can directly bring your school's Google Drive account into Schoology. You don't have to go to different places. You can actually integrate it into your Schoology course. A lot of you might be using Google Docs, and maybe you're just posting a link on Schoology to a Google Doc, and it's kind of a separated process. You could bring that all together. So the way to actually do that first is that on the top of your Schoology page, there's those little like 4 squares, and that's actually known as the App Center, okay? And you click on the App Center, you're gonna see there's a lot of apps you could directly integrate into Schoology. So I'm gonna go into Schoology, and you see there it is, that App Center. It's that little like 4 squares on the top of your Schoology ribbon there, okay? And all you need to do is click on that, and then you click on App Center. Now there's a lot of really cool things, and what really usually pops up first is Google Drive, and that's what we're gonna talk about. But you can scroll through this. I mean, there's just a lot of great stuff, Microsoft aspects. You can go through all the different tools that you can integrate into your Schoology page, your Schoology course directly. And so students only have to go to that one spot to actually access this. Now, let me reiterate, some of these tools cost money and some are free. So depends on what you have, you can kind of pick and choose what you actually want to use. So we're gonna talk about Google today. So what you would do is, mine's already connected, but you would actually do these 2 apps into your Google account, the Google Drive Resource app and the Google Drive Assignments app. And all you do is click on that, and mine's already installed, but I'm not gonna install it again, but you just would hit Install Resource App, and that's pretty much it. And then you do the exact same thing for the Drive Assignments app. So what that does now is that gives Schoology the ability to talk basically with your Google Drive, and it gives it easy access to your files in both locations. So it really kind of cuts down on you having to go back and forth to Drive. And it's really nice of assigning Google Assignments right through Schoology, okay? So are we all okay with that part at this point? Have any of you already done this? I mean, I just want to make sure, maybe this is something, is this something new I should ask? Maybe that's a better question. Is this something new? Okay, good, great. So this is something I hope you can really use, because it is super, super useful. So let's kind of talk about, what does this mean now? So I have my Google Drive stuff in my Schoology. So what? What does that allow me to actually do? Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my courses page, and I am going to open up my course. And I know you've all been here, you've added materials, you've added assignments and things of that nature. When you click on the materials button here, right? You can add different things. And one of the things I want to talk about is, when you add an assignment now, you can actually import it right from your Google Drive, which is really kind of neat. So I'm gonna go add an assignment. And I'm gonna probably get a lot of kids nervous today if they see this. I always gotta forget. I'm gonna make this unpublish it, because I do these presentations and I do this, and sometimes I leave it there, and then students go, "What is this?" I'm so sorry. So I'm gonna kind of like turn this off. So they can't see it right now. And if you guys know about that, right? About publishing and unpublishing assignments, It's a super useful tool to kind of front load your course, so you don't have to worry about students actually seeing it. So I'm just gonna call this like Google Test Assignment. And you could give your descriptions here, but now I'm not sure if you've noticed this, yours might not have this, but mine now has this, Google Drive assignments. Okay, so actually that now will appear when you actually now create an assignment. And this is really useful. Has anyone out there been a Google Classroom user before using Schoology? I don't know if anybody ever used Google Classroom a little bit. Basically what this did was this allowed the same features Google Classroom users have to kind of now be part of Schoology. One of the main benefits Google Classroom had for a long time is it could seamlessly use Google Docs and assign Google Docs to students and Google Slides or whatever the case may be. Well, now this allows Schoology to do the exact same thing. And next week, I think it's next week Friday, we're going to talk about Cami, and that's a similar thing. Okay. Was there a question? Everybody's good? All right. Oh, yes, please.
I just went in to install the Google Drive, as you said, the app, but it won't download into my Schoology.
Did anybody else try it? Anybody else was successful?
I hit agree and add to my resources, install, and it just popped back to the install page.
If you refresh, it actually might be okay. I think the install page always is on there. Let me show you one more thing. Let me get out of this tab before we move any further. So if you go to your resources section, let me get page loads up. And if you go to your apps down here, let me show you, right? Everybody sees apps down here on your resources page. And if you click apps, let's see how mine says Google Drive Resource App.
Yes.
Are people seeing that, I hope?
I see it.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. And now if you click on that, you're actually going to see your Google Drive. All the folders, all your files is all here. Now, I'm going to say there's a little bit of a caveat with this. The way it's organized when it brings it into Schoology, I still don't think it is the best. Because you can kind of do something like you can do My Drive, but you can't do Most Recent, which is a little annoying. I think it defaults to that, but you kind of have to do a little bit of a searching because it kind of mixes folders and files all together, which I don't like. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find something, but it is all there. So it won't look exactly like it does if you go to like your drive. And if I go to all my folders and I have all my files, everything's kind of organized. When you look at it through Schoology, it doesn't appear exactly the same. I mean, and that's unfortunate.
Maybe Schoology can improve on that.
I'm hoping. I know the last time we had a session with them, we talked about that. They were trying to make it better. They added this. This was not available before, where you can actually add folders and add Google Docs and slides and drawings right from Schoology. That wasn't there. So they did add that. That's fairly new. But I'm hoping they will actually improve on this a little bit because it's still a little bit hard to find something. But if you use it just to do assignments, you'll be okay. So let me go back to what I was getting at with this assignment. So I'm going to actually give my students a Google Drive assignment to work on. Okay, something that I want them to actually complete, whether it be to read, whether it be to fill out, whether it be to do something. So I'm going to search through my drive, and I'll give you a quick tip here. Know the exact title of the file you want to actually use ahead of time. Like if you know exactly what the file's name is, and then you type that file in, you'll find it a lot faster. Okay, that will kind of cut down on some of the problem that you would have trying to find some of your files from the Schoology Drive interface. So I'm going to look for Vietnam. I think I had one set up, Vietnam War questions. So even I'm having, I'll just use this one, Vietnam War expedition. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to just highlight it. I'm going to go attach. Now, what happens here now is that it is attached that Google Doc assignment right to Schoology assignment. And see, this is the key part. This creates a copy for every student to work on, which means that every student gets their own copy that they have the right to edit. It is not your copy. That's really, 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 really important. One of the common problems we've had for years with working with Google Docs between students and teachers who are new to it is they just might share out a Google Doc, but they inadvertently share out their copy of it. And then students are editing, right, your copy. You're like, no, I don't want that. I want you to have your own copy. And then you had to teach students how to make a copy of a Google Doc. And even though that's not very hard to do, right, some students have problems with that, right? So this actually eliminates that. Is there a question? I'm sorry, I heard someone talking. Are we all good? Nope. Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anybody's question. So this is really important. This creates a copy for each student to actually use. Now we're going to talk about rubrics later on. You can give it a point value. You can give it your grading category like you always do. Assign what sections is going to be assigned to, and then you just go create. Okay, so now that Google Doc assignment is in your drive, is in Schoology. Now I just put it at the bottom of my Schoology feed here, but you could open up and put it in any folder you wanted to put it in, or any way you want to organize your Schoology course. But let's look at the difference now. I'm going to open it up, and this is where it looks really different from usual usual Schoology assignments. See how this interface is very different from other assignments that you've used on Schoology, perhaps? And what it shows you the Google Doc that you shared out to all your students. You can click on that, and you can see the doc, make sure it's the right one. And this is something that I was working on with my students. And then it tells you which section. Now remember, I told you before, I combined all my sections of my course together into one. And if you want, we can talk about that. But if that's a little bit off topic, but it's an important thing because I taught for the same section of the same course. And so I want to make them all together. So for me, it's easy. I can just go to section 5, 6, 7 and see which section I'm in. And it tells you which students have started it in progress. Obviously, no one started it yet. And then it tells you which students submitted it. Okay. So that's really nice. Now it's all kind of in one interface that you can kind of access your students' Google Docs anytime you want, because if a Google Doc is in progress and you click on it, I can go to a real example. I can click on a student and see how they're working on it before they even turn it in. And I can give them feedback. I can give them, assistance and helping them work through some of their problems, or it be a writing assignment, ELA assignment, social studies, math, French, whatever the case may be. I have the ability to go into those Google Docs and actually kind of help students before they submit them, okay? That's really important. And then once they submit it, I can grade it. Now, if there's a rubric attached to it, which I'll show you in a little bit, the rubric appears right next to the Google Doc. Click the rubric and you're done. You've scored it. And you can add comments right there as well. And it's scored right through Schoology. And then we talked about maybe one day you guys get on that track where you're going to sync Schoology to PowerSchool. Then I just sync my assignment. It's in my gradebook. I'm done. Okay, so in terms of a workflow, it's really, 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 really nice. Okay. Is this piece okay so far? Does anybody want me to go back and reiterate something or check something out different?
I have a quick question, actually.
Yes. Who am I?
Does this allow in any way for students to, like if they're using an iPad like ours would be, to actually write on it at all? Because in the math department, it's hard to type their answers sometimes.
Yes. So you're saying actually have the ability to sort of use the stylus feature and actually write on it. Yes. But we're going to talk about another tool on next week, Friday, Cami, which if you're really into writing on documents, gives you many, 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 many more tools than this will. So you can kind of pick and choose, depending on the assignment, which document, which tool you want to use, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really, really great question.
So Ron, if we're using Cami, does that allow us to see them as they're working, like you were just talking about happens in Google Drive?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, it does.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very similar.
2 more questions. Number 1, will the kids be prompted to sign into Google, or is that something that automatically happens or doesn't need to happen?
Well, let me ask the question, are they using their Google sign-ins to get onto Schoology? Yes. Everybody's yes. Then no. Then as long as they've used their Google sign-in to get onto Schoology, it's all synced together. They don't have to log into another account. So that's really, 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 really nice.
Okay. And just to clarify, we should create the document we want to assign in Google Drive.
I think so. I mean, technically you could do it from here, that resource app, but I don't like it, to tell you the truth. It's there. You can kind of see where all your stuff is, but it's still easier just to go to your Drive, make a new document, open your course folder, that you're in, make a new document, and you're all set. Now, while I'm on this topic, I'm sorry, Jessica, did I answer all your questions before I move on?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. before I move on, then there's something I want to show you though, because what's really kind of cool though, is when you do this linking of Schoology to your drive, it automatically makes a folder in your school drive called Schoology Drive Assignments. I didn't make that.
Oh.
It makes that automatically. And then if you open it up, which is kind of neat, it has all your sections there. And I know it's labeled a little bit weird, so you kind of got to figure it out. But I can go into like this section and then look at, it gives me every single assignment I've did all year. And I could then actually go into that assignment and look at the kids' Google Docs right through here, right through your drive. So that's really kind of nice too. You actually don't have to even use Schoology. It's kind of neat. You can use both interfaces. It's all right in Google Drive. So every assignment that you make through this process will create an automatic folder with all the kids' documents in your own Google Drive without them having to share anything with you. So students never have to share that document back to you. You already have complete access to it. You really own it. Does that make sense? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So let me just show you an example, and I'm kind of trying to keep on pace here because there's so many things I want to show you. So we talked about that, talked about all those aspects. I'm kind of using my slideshow as my own sort of note sheet to make sure I'm getting everything I want you folks to get today. So remember I showed you the other day Tab Cloud? I think I showed you this, which is, I think, to me, one of my most important tools of organizing everything. If I'll go to this again, and I'll show you what it's called. It's called Tab Cloud. If you've already searched it, just do it. It's called TABCLOUD. It's in the Chrome Web Store. So you just open up another tab, type in Chrome Web Store. You know, it's an extension, and it looks like this. It's a little cloud on my in my browser here. And I use this to organize everything. So I'm going to click on it. I think I already showed you this last week. But I'll show you some Google Doc assignments that we're working on. And I'll show you how I have it already organized so you can kind of see that workflow again. Because I think that's the most important part for you and for your students. Well, how do you get back to it? So I had students beginning of the year, beginning of our time off together. And I do this for everything. So this is World War I notes. Was when we just left in March. But for any time we had a debate, we do a lot of debates in my classes, I created this so I can have all their Google Docs up at the exact same time. So this was like their first debate, and I assigned all of that through Schoology, but I wanted to have easier access to it. So I can kind of go back and show you what we did before. So I can go to this World War I notes page, and I have to share a different screen with you guys again. I do. Hold on one second. Let me share this screen for you. Okay. Can everybody see this screen that says like chapter 1 note sheet?
Yep.
So see the interface? This is the exact same interface I was showing you before. And this is a Google Doc that students shared out. They submitted it. And then all I could do is I can go to the rubric. See how there's this rubric attached to it? Now, in this scenario, I didn't use the rubric because once I scored it, students couldn't get access to it again. And this is the problem with students all working at different paces while we're off since March. I didn't want to lock any student out of this Google Doc. So I just kind of put the grade in PowerSchool just manually. But under normal circumstances, I hit the rubric, and this is the rubric that I created this rubric in a Schoology. And it's attached to this assignment. And I can just click, 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 score it, and I can leave some comments. Any comment I leave here will actually appear in the gradebook in PowerSchool, which is really nice because it's synced together. So I write my comment, I share the comments with the student sees that comment in PowerSchool. If your parents have access to Parent Portal, they see it, and it's really a great communication piece. So what's nice about that, see how it's all in one spot. So I use Tab Cloud to organize all my assignments. So this was the World War I assignment. Here are all the students' Google Docs. I just open them up in different tabs. I open up their camis and see I can get back to it at any time I want. I don't have to go back to Schoology and do all this clicking to open up the assignment. Once I have it all laid out, I just go to Tab Cloud. I have all my tabs laid out, and I name my session, and I save it. And I can always get back to that session, and it always opens up exactly the way it should appear. That to me is a huge, huge time saver when you're grading all these Google Docs and stuff. And I showed you before how I do a screencast. This is a video that I made when I screencasted feedback on their Google Doc. But what I love is the revision history, right? Hope we're all using that. This is great for group assignments. So revision history, I can go to the revision history and I see exactly what days these students worked on. Now, this is a good example because this is a group of 4 people and only really 2 students worked on it so far, and that's not good. I can go to a better group and there's more people working on it and everybody's kind of on the Google Doc. So you can kind of see which student did at what time they actually did it. So let me back up for a second. So if you wanted to, even though this is set up for all individual, every student gets their own copy of this Google Doc, I still use this for group assignments. So what I have is I assign a team leader of a group, and that team leader opens up their Google Doc, and then they share it with the other team members. Does that make sense? And I'm only grading really that one student's Google Doc, but all the other team members can see it. Here's the one unfortunate problem, and Schoology still hasn't done this. Schoology has not allowed us to make group assignments, where if I graded the one student with the rubric, all the other students would get that grade. That is not there yet. I've even asked for it. They're working on it. So if you're still doing group assignments, even though you're grading the one person's work in the group, you still have to either score the rubric for every student in that group. Does that make sense? That's the only problem I have with it. That's why I put the screencast of my feedback on the Google Doc, because every student can see the Google Doc, and they can all get back to my feedback. Okay? Are we good so far? Is this helpful? This is good? Okay. All right. So let me close out of this and let me get back to my original screen share.
Can I ask one quick, fast question?
Definitely. Always.
On the screen there, all those little boxes with all those little icons are there.
Yeah.
Are those icons a representative of an assignment from each student, or are those resources that you've stored?
Right here, what I'm circling right now,
Right.
each of these icons is actually the tab of the browser session.
Okay, got it. That the students are working on.
Yeah, so this is one student's Google Doc, they're one Cami. Another group's Google Doc, they're Cami. And all my video feedbacks. So if I did this session, so if I just go to right now, see how it shows you my session right now is the two Google Drive assignments, the slideshow. This is the exact same session up here. That's how it actually saves it.
Okay.
Puts an icon for each tab that you have open, and then when you just open it up, all your tabs open at one time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it is such a nice. I've been using this for years. I couldn't imagine doing what I do without this. It's really important. Okay, great. All right, so let's go back to this. So we talked about Tab Cloud. We showed you how it all kind of is another thing you can use with the Schoology assignments to make it worthwhile. I showed you how this was already in your drive, right? How anytime you make a Schoology assignment, a folder appears in your drive, which is really, really, really nice. Okay, so let me then just show you an example. Do you want to see an example, or do you want to move on to something else? I just want to make sure I'm maximizing our time. I showed you the one example. Do you want to see another example of how you can use Google Drive to do a larger project-based learning group assignment, or would you rather move on? Hands up if you want to see another, thumbs up if you want to see another example. You guys want to see another example? Everybody's kind of cool. Okay, great. All right, so let me show you another example. Then after that, we're going to kind of move on to some other Google aspects, how you can use them with Schoology. Okay, so one of the ways I like to organize a major project is making sure students know how to use Google Drive, know how to make folders, and how to share this all out. So one of the major projects that they're finishing up this week, something they started back in September, is their final project. And it's kind of like the big final project exam for the course. And this is, I think I mentioned this last week, they have to pick one topic in American military history and do a major research project on it, or they can research the story of a family member, alive, deceased, a relative, friend that had some sort of military experience, civilian or active duty, whatever the case may be. And they research this all year long and so forth. So what I've done is at the beginning of this project, I asked each student, these are all the assignment drops. One of the ones I asked them to do is I asked them to create a Google Drive folder. This was back in February to kind of make sure they were all organized. And final project source check was the assignment. But here is the Google Doc. I'll just show you that was the assignment for it. They had to create a Google Drive folder. They had to label it correctly. Do you guys use Noodle Tools for citation generation? You guys do? Okay. So they had to make a Noodle Tools project. They had to find 1 to 3 sources. And I had all these screenshots. How do you make a folder? How do you share it with me? And how do you do all that? And then they had to put all the stuff in their folder. So then what I did, so if I go back to my Google Drive and I go to my course again, let me get back to my drive. And if I go to my course, and if I go to final project, I have a lot of stuff, but I know where it is. So I guess that's all that matters. If I go to final project and I can go to this year's group of students, 2019, 2020, I made a folder for each of my periods. And then here's period 1's folder. And then these are all the folders that the kids shared with me. So I can modify them by name. And it goes alphabetical order. There's each kid's folder for all their final project aspects. And I can go into any kid's folder I want and, see what they have. I've asked them to organize their folder for sources, images, their script, their notes. So I can go to their sources. This is a Google Doc with this person's all their sources that they had, all their images for the movie that they're working on. Their images on a Google Doc. So they have all this kind of organized for themselves, and I have complete access to it. So for me, that was one way it was really important for me to use Google Drive with Schoology, is showing students how to share Google Drives with their teacher so I can have access to it. And I can drop stuff in here. I can check it out. I can be a helpful resource for them. So that was one way we kind of did it. We made it a Schoology assignment, and I had all the directions there and actually how to do that. Okay, so that was really important. The source check too was just they had to have more sources in their project folder, and the script we'll talk about later on, because the script's a better example how you can integrate it with Turnitin. But I just want to show you quickly how you can organize all your Drive folders together, so all your students' work is in one spot. Okay, this wasn't done automatically by Schoology. Each student had to make their folder and share it with me, and then I organized it for myself per class period. Okay, so does that, just a quick little example of how that can work, okay? That sound pretty good? Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's move on then. And one of the cool things I love is I love Google Calendar. I'm a huge Google Calendar user for my personal life, for my professional life, for my students. I think I mentioned even my plan book is a Google Calendar. And Schoology, right, has a calendar, right? We go back to the main page of Schoology. And it's always over here on the right-hand side when it loads up. And every time you make an assignment, right, it puts it on the calendar. So I can go back and I can go back, and these are all the assignments for the whole entire year. This happens automatically. That's fine. I've gotten feedback from students, though, that they sometimes don't like this view, because what it does, it also groups every class together on one calendar. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate what class am I actually working from. And again, sometimes the app isn't all that great, so they can't get it from their phones or their devices. So what I do is I make a Google Calendar for my courses, and I embed that calendar right on Schoology. So if I open up, I showed you this briefly the other day. I just want to show you how to actually do it today. So here is my course calendar on Schoology, and I can go back and see all the assignments and so forth. So how did I get my Google Calendar onto Schoology? First off, do any of you use Google Calendar extensively? Like you use it a lot? So yeah, so this might be really, really useful for you. Let me get out of here. So let me open up a new tab really quickly, because I don't have enough tabs open already. So here's my Google Calendar, and here we go. So I have them all sorted here. So this is actually my Google Calendar open just for my class, okay? So this is just what they see on Schoology, okay? Now, what I also do is I also make a plan book on Google Calendar, and I could overlay my plan book on top of the kids' calendar. So whatever you see in gray is actually my plan book. The other colors are actually, what the students see. So I always use a Google Calendar for my plan book, so I can go back to it every other year. I can copy assignments over from my plan book, and I can keep it kind of organized. So every year I don't have to remake everything. I can just kind of push to the new dates, modify what I'm doing, and kind of keep a running record of what I did and when I actually did it. That's really helpful for me, at least planning, okay? So what we can do here, let's show you how this all works. If you go to the settings up here of Google Calendar, okay, I go to settings. Okay, so I can go to my calendars, and I'm going to go over here down on the side. I'm going to click on one of my calendars. I have a lot of calendars. You can see that I'm working on. So I keep them for every single year. So I click on that calendar, and that opens up the calendar settings for that calendar. And what I can do is there's a sharing settings of integrate your calendar. When you click on the settings of Google Calendar, and I can't make this bigger. There, oh yes, I guess I can. See how it says embed code? I copy that embed code. Okay. Now what I do is what I did here is I went into Schoology, and I'll do this really quickly and hope I don't freak any students out. I went to materials and I added a page. Page is kind of like a blank, literally just a blank page in Schoology. And sometimes it's useful just to have a blank page you can kind of write on in Schoology. And I just called it calendar. I'm just gonna do this really quick. Hope the kids don't see it. Let me make it, they can't see it. Now, I don't know if you ever noticed this. See these two little dots over here? See if I can make this bigger. See these two little dots on page? One of them is just regular view, and one of them is switch to HTML. So HTML is like the language of, making websites. Now, you don't have to know to be a coder to use it, because a lot of applications give you the HTML code. I'm going to paste that code. That's the code I got from the settings page over here from Google Calendar, right? And now I hit create. So if I go down here, there's the little page. I called it calendar. Where is it? I open it up, and now there's a Google Calendar on that page. Isn't that cool? And anytime I make a change to my Google Calendar in the real Google Calendar, not on Schoology, it is reflected instantaneously over here, okay? So that's really awesome. So what's really cool is I tell students this. The bottom of this thing, see how there's this little plus? It says add Google Calendar. If they click that little plus, it adds that calendar to their own Google accounts. So now if they're on their phone, they have the Google Calendar app and they have a notification set up, boom, it's always there for them. So I'm trying to teach them how to use these tools in a professional way to kind of keep themselves organized. Just a quick little tip. Does that seem helpful? Does that seem useful? I love this feature. I love using Google Calendar as part of my Schoology, not the Schoology calendar. And that's how I actually did that. Okay. All right. Any questions about that? Everybody's pretty good. All right. Wonderful. Okay. Moving on then. One of the things that I think is really kind of neat about Google Docs and Google Slides and Sheets, or whatever the case that you're using, is there's a lot of really fun Google add-ons that you could kind of use to make your Google Docs, I guess, more useful, or your slides more useful. Has anybody used add-ons before? Google add-ons? Not seeing a lot of hands. Okay, this is great. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to open up a Google Doc that we were working on before. Here's this final project organization sheet. It doesn't matter which Google Doc I'm on. And if you look closely at the top of the Google Doc area, there's this little thing called add-ons, okay? All right, I can click on this. These are all the add-ons that I have. But down here, you can say get add-ons. If I click on that, give it a second to load, it brings to this little place called the G Suite Marketplace and what works with Docs. These are all different tools. Like, I know there's a math person, right? This is the math type tool. This gives you extra tools to create, different math characters that aren't automatically there with just your plain old Google Doc. So you can click on that and they will appear. Accents for ELA people, right? So maybe accents isn't always the best on Google Docs. You want to kind of add that. If you're a word cloud person, you can make those automatically generated with inside a Google Doc, an equation editor, just really cool tools. Google Translate. Those of you in foreign language don't like that sometimes, right? Because it's the shortcut and doesn't always work as the way it should, right? Just kind of neat things that you can kind of add to your Google Doc to make it more useful for your particular subject area. There's even one here for music notation, okay, of doing music lines on Google Docs and things like that. There's just tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff. All right, so QR code generators and just really neat things. So just to kind of have some fun, rulers. You want to put a ruler on your page to kind of size things up better. It's kind of nice to have. And there's a plagiarism checker that is a little bit free if you're not using turnitin.com, and there's some other things you can kind of add on to it just to make it really customizable to your experience. Now, every Google application has this. So we can go into my slideshow here. Let me open up a new slideshow because this actually might mess it up. Actually, no, it won't. Let me just get out of here. I'll exit the slideshow. So see how there's add-ons here for Google Slides. So every application has their own. So you hit add-ons again, you go manage add-ons, and now these are only the tools that will work. These are apps I install, most popular. And now these are different ones that you can kind of go through that go with your slides. So Pear Deck, there's one for Nearpod in here somewhere I thought I saw, Slides Translator. I think maybe Kate's doing something on Lucidchart, right? Kate, aren't you? There's a Lucidchart one in here for them. Just really kind of neat things to make your slides, table of contents, GIF Maker, all these just really cool tools that you can make your slides a little bit more impressive or give them more functionality than what you might not have with just the standard package. Only one I want to show you that's sometimes hard to find is on Google Forms, okay? So I'm going to go to this is a Google site. Let me go to a Google form real quick. We go to my drive. I'm going to show you one more thing about this too. I'm going to go to new, going to go to more, going to go to Google Forms. Make a quick little Google form. You guys ever use Google Forms just to make a quick little surveys, right? These are great, right? And you can score them. But the add-on is kind of hard. It's like this really weird little puzzle symbol. And you click add-on there. And now there's, where's my manage my, they changed it on me. Where's my add-ons? There's my add-ons, but where is my new add-ons? I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Send the 3 little dots. You go to add-ons. And now there's all these little add-ons here for Google Forms, like email notifications. This is actually one I use a lot. How do you know a person actually filled out a form? Well, this will send you an email. You can kind of set it up that you say, oh, someone filled out my form. Now I actually know. You have to go back and check it all the time. Form builder, just some really cool things here with making your forms a little bit more useful, signature lines, turn into PDFs, just a lot of fun things here, okay? So I hope that's useful because I think those are really nice. Add-ons really make them customizable. Now, you might have to work with your tech coordinator at the school, whoever controls the security of your accounts, because what our school did this year is for a long time, these were all just open. Anyone you wanted, you can go and add them on, but they kind of tightened it up. And at the beginning of the year, they asked us to compile a list of which ones we wanted, and they put them on a list and allowed them to actually download it. Once that list was created, if you want one, you actually have to request access to it. If you're in your personal Google account, obviously it's all completely open, but your school account might have some of these limited. Like I click on this one, see how it says app not whitelisted for install by admin. I would have to say, okay, I would just let my admin know who controls our accounts that, can you make this available for me? And then they would take a look at it to make sure it was safe. And then I would have access to that. Okay, does that make sense? But on your personal account, there'll be no restrictions on it whatsoever. Okay, great. I mean, everybody good with that? I was going to move on to some other things here. Everybody's good? Sure. Okay. One more thing I thought about that maybe some folks sometimes don't, remember to actually use. Oh, sorry. Let me get out of that. Is that you can also add apps to your Google Drive. Okay, so this is a little bit different. An add-on is something that's specific for a Google Doc or a Google slideshow or a Google form. But you can integrate different tools into your Google Drive so everything that you make in that tool is automatically saved to your Google Drive. So if I go back to my drive, if I go to new here, right? Maybe make this bigger for everybody. If I go to more, see how down here, see how, it's just too big, can't manipulate it. If I go to new, if I go to more, and way down at the end, it says connect more apps. I have all these apps already connected to my Google Drive. So Lucidchart, Lucidpress. Anything I make in those 2 apps automatically saves to my Google Drive. It's tied together. Pixlr is a photo editor. Video one got canceled out. But you connect more apps, and now this shows you all the apps that are available to connect to your Google Drive. So things like Lucidchart, other SketchUp tools, Cami, tied to your Google Drive, Screencastify, tied to your Google Drive. Just some really great tools that you can make it automatically seamlessly connected to what you do within Drive. Okay, so definitely auto recorder. That's really kind of a fun one. And you can kind of click down here, top charts, most, there's categories, there's education categories, teacher admin tools. You can kind of go search through that. That's, again, all back to that G Suite marketplace. So definitely check some of those out. There might be a lot of fun things you want to actually integrate into your Google Drives. Was that new? Do people know about that? They didn't know about that?
I didn't know about it.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I'm always worried that I'm going to be showing you things that you already know about. Like, oh, great. I want you to hopefully learn some new things today. Fantastic. All right, sounds kind of fun. All right, keep on moving on. Is our heads swirling, or is this an okay pace? Is this an okay pace? I got 1 hour to show you all these wonderful things. I'm trying my best to kind of give you a little bit, not make you feel like this is, oh my gosh, where am I going to start? But again, I'm showing you a lot of different options. Again, I always give people the recommendation to start off slowly. Pick one or two things that are new to you, and then make them part of your normal routine, and then build from there. Then over time, you're going to have all these things that you can use, that you can customize what you want to use for the best situation. Okay. All right. Now,
excuse me, Ron.
Yeah,
this is Maria, but it might be a question for Linda. One of the ones, what would be our best way? Do we just all email Chris if we want something? Because I know the one word cloud, Linda, I'm interested in. Ron just said on the chat for the group here that the math and type and equation editor are not allowed by, maybe it's a different one, but do we all email Chris on our own? Or then Ron, my question for you is, if I get it, does everybody get it? Like when we do self-serve and you have that as an app, does everybody get it?
It really depends. I don't know, is Chris on the call? It depends on how you guys set it up. So, I mean, I think what we do at our school is they usually put on a list, and that list then gives everybody access to it, rather than just making it specific to Maria's account. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So once it's available, because usually the thought process of one teacher likes it, they're going to talk to another teacher, then they're going to want it. So why keep on doing this again and again and again? It's just on a list that the school feels that's appropriate. It's a good tool. There's no security issues with it, and then they're okay with it.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. And Linda,
so Maria, I think that we will tell Chris that people will start to ask him for certain add-ons, and then he can design a process to get it out to everyone.
great. Oh, Ron, we could make a Google Doc for the school. So yeah. Thank you. Yes, because some of them are helpful. I mean, again, I'm going to use one, and mine are going to be very different than the math department, but that would be helpful. And I don't want to inundate Chris and where is all this coming from?
Right. I'll let him know.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Ron.
Okay.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions about stuff that we're working on here? Okay, I'm trying to just pace myself here so I know that I'm getting everything I wanted to do. I want to hit two more things, and that actually be perfect timing. And I give you guys a 5-minute break if you're going to go on to a different session or stay with me for the next session. That's fine too. So the last two things I want to talk about are both Google tools that you can sort of set up and use through Schoology to really enhance your students' experiences. And one of them is Google Sites, and the other one is using some of the great virtual reality tools. Now, each of these little things I'm going to show you, we can spend an hour or more on each of these. I just want to show you that what's out there. I'm not sure if people knew about this, but this is a tool that's oftentimes overlooked by teachers, and I think it's a wonderful tool. It's called Google Sites, and Google Sites gives you the ability to make quick, little, easy websites that are out there, that are real, and that can be made public either to everyone or just to those who use your school's account. So you can kind of limit it, which is nice too, to keep it kind of safe to only school users, okay? Now, Google Sites, what I've done is I've made many Google Sites for myself, but now what I do is I teach my students how to use Google Sites, and they make Google Sites for their own projects. And it's been a lot of fun. So I'll just show you what all you need to do is go to sites.google.com. It's part of your Google suite of tools. And when you go there, they have like templates for sites if you want to use their template gallery. Or you can kind of have your own and what you do. So, for example, I'll show you this one. This is actually a Google site that I made for our Canisius program to kind of showcase what we do beyond what the traditional college website is. So I made this whole entire site, and I'll show you the view publish site really quickly so you guys can kind of see what it actually looks like. Let's go to view publish. There we go. So this is the actual published site. So I actually made this all through Google Sites. This is the homepage. Talks about the certifications that we do at our program. I actually made this link for the website all on March 13th. I'll tell you the reason why. On March 13th, when we thought we were going to online learning completely, I made one for my Keisha's program real quickly in the morning, and I made one for Clarence to kind of give them access to all the digital tools that we use. So these are all like screencasting video playlists that I made on our YouTube channel, how to use Google Meet, how to use Drive, Docs, and Forms, and I can even share stuff with you guys too. So I kind of made that there as a one-stop shop. Our certifications, our flipped learning, all the stuff that we do, our ed tech specialists. So I made it all with Google Sites. And I'm not going to pretend to show you that we're going to learn how to use this right now, but it's actually just a really easy tool. It looks a lot like a Google Doc. It gives you layouts like slideshows. It gives you a way to insert text and embed things. You can add YouTube videos and docs and calendars, and it's all integrated really nicely with Google. And it's really easy to use. So once you play around with it and you feel comfortable enough with it, you could then start having your students build their own projects. So I can just make like a blank site really, really quickly. And it's really kind of nice. So you can kind of change the backgrounds here. You can add images. You can change, there's like themes of different themes you want to work with, color schemes. You can insert text box images, anything you want. And the layouts are really nice. It puts the layout there. Okay, I want to add an image. I look for an image. See how it looks just like what you've done with Google Docs. It looks just like what you make in a Google slideshow. And it's super, super easy to actually use once you get into it. And I have a bunch of videos and actually kind of guide you through each step of the process here. All right. But what I want to show you is go back to Schoology. Well, how did I use this with my students? So every year I told you that my students pick units, they pick teams, and that becomes a team for the whole entire year. That's like their team that they work on a lot of group projects with. And one of the ways to build team building was to have them I wanted them to pick a name for their team. So their name for their team was based on a real regiment in military history. And I had this whole project here, unit project. And what they had to do was they had to research their unit's history. They had to research what their unit's name was. They had to go through what wars they were in, any awards they received, things like that. And then they had to build a website where they kind of showcased their team. And then part of that website was for them to then actually produce a quick little video documentary about their unit. And then that website kind of became a place in the showcase work of their group the whole entire year. So what I can do is I can go back here and show you an example of some that I have here still. So here is an example of some, don't remember which ones were the best examples, which were not the best examples. It doesn't really matter. Actually, I think I do have some better examples that I already kind of curated. Example projects. I did. Okay, good. So this was groups project. Here's their that was their group video. Sorry. Forgive me. I thought I had that ready to go. Sample websites. No big deal. I'll just show you what I had here for you already. I can just pick this group's website. So let's just open it up, and I have access to it. They can share it with their teammates. All their teammates can work on it at the exact same time, which is really kind of nice. Let me go to view publish site. So this was their regiment. That's their symbol. They had their own Twitter handle, which I asked them to actually make. This is the video that they actually made for their team, and you can kind of watch that video. It's a video documentary that they actually made. And then this is one of the assignments we were working on of virtual reality, right? The kids made this all themselves. This is their virtual reality sites. You scan the QR code, it appears on their Google goggles. These are embedded images, 360 images we can kind of look at and tour the Battle of Antietam. So we kind of did all this as a virtual reality project, and they showcase it through their website. Just want to show you as an example, Google Sites is often a tool that's overlooked. It's a really great way for you if you want to build your own personal website for teacher use, or to teach your students how to use it for like portfolio projects, great project-based learning resource, just kind of a nice thing. And it's really easy to actually use. Okay, was that useful? Just to kind of tease you a little bit of what's out there. That's really kind of nice. And then the last thing before we have our 5-minute break is virtual reality. And again, I presented on this topic. I can go on for hours about this, but especially for distance learning, virtual reality is just really kind of fun and neat and exciting. And there's a lot of tools that are out there that are available to use through Google to bring the virtual reality experience to your students. And these are all different apps. This symbol is the app for what's known as Google Cardboard. You don't need a Google viewer to actually view one. I see my viewer. Let me just grab it. All right, here we go. So this is a Google, can you guys see this? This is a Google Cardboard viewer. I have a class set of these where the students put their phone inside of the viewer, and now the viewer becomes a virtual reality headset. Really kind of nice. I got these through a grant. These are, when I first got them, are about maybe 20 bucks a piece. Now they're a lot cheaper, but the original versions, the cardboard versions, are literally cardboard. You can still get them, and they still make new ones. I have a whole link here to Google Cardboard somewhere on my links of stuff. That's what it actually looks like. And they're like cheap. They're a couple bucks just to make a real quick cardboard viewer. And it's really easy and accessible. You can certainly get better viewers as well. The other app is Google Street View. We've all used it, I'm sure, right? To see what our house looks like from the Google Streetcar, right? Google Street View is great to bring virtual reality into your classroom. The other app is Google Expeditions, where Google curates and makes materials already for you that they give you in questions for teacher use, where you can go on anything you want. You want to go visit a historic museum or a battlefield, obviously. You want to go visit inside the human body for anatomy. Yes, you can actually do that. They've made those. You want to see what it's like to be on a stage in a Broadway play. They have that. So any subject you can imagine, cultural aspects, economic, political aspects, you can kind of get after it with Google Expeditions. And the last little app, this one I want to show you, it's available, something you can make your own. It's called Google Tour Creator. You can make your own virtual reality tours. So I can show you my own tours really quickly. So I've made these tours. We read a whole book called Washington's Crossing. And I made this tour. I want to view the published tour. And this is a tour that I actually made. It starts off where Washington would have landed before they crossed the Delaware. I put these little points of interest in them. This is from the book. If you have your viewer on, you'll hear my voice reading this passage to you. You can go to the next scene, and you can these are all Google Street View images. You can just make them automatically. And I put this map in there for them. And then you can like cross the Delaware. Eventually I get to a point where we're on the Delaware River. And then there's the point of interest. There's the famous George Lutz painting of that crossing. And the book is all about that. So I made this tour for my students. Eventually, by the end of the year, my students make their own virtual tours, which is really easy to use. They can make their own very, very, very quickly. And then maybe the last thing I can do here for you is show you Google Expeditions. Let's see if this works. And then I will stop. Probably because you had enough of me. Let me just bring up, I'm using a tool here called Air Server. I don't know if you ever saw this tool before. I could bring my phone onto the screen so you guys can see my phone. Let's hopefully this. Sometimes my home access internet isn't as good as the school's internet. So sometimes it doesn't work, but there it is.
Oh, no.
So this is my phone. Let me go view full screen. And I can go into Google Expeditions. So if this works, it's a little bit delayed. Come on, work. It's a little delayed because our connection's got a lot going on here. So I'm not able to show you my phone, but Google Expeditions only works through the app. But you can go search for Google Expeditions. There's so much stuff you can search on there, a lot of fun. And we'll stop it there maybe because my connection at home isn't as good enough to actually make this work. Thank you again for taking this course, and thank you for watching this video. Again, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please use our Schoology discussion to facilitate all those issues. Have a great day. Bye-bye.